Most men dream of wealth. They fantasize about freedom, luxury, and admiration. But Machiavelli would whisper a truth that most people cannot handle. You do not become rich by dreaming. You become rich by strategy, by cold calculation, by mastering the human animal, starting with yourself. He would tell you that the path to wealth begins not with money, but with the psychology of dominance, because poverty is not the lack of money. It is the lack of control. If you're serious about escaping the chains of mediocrity, take 2 seconds right now, subscribe, and comment, "I refuse to stay broke," below. That single action separates those who only watch from those who will rise. The ones who move first always win. Make that your first move. When you are poor, you live as a slave to your circumstances. You work for survival, not for power. Every decision is based on fear. Fear of losing, fear of judgment, fear of risk. And this fear is what the powerful feed on. Machiavelli understood that the rich are not smarter. They are simply more ruthless with their decisions. They act where others hesitate. They invest where others seek comfort. They understand that fortune favors not the talented, but the strategic. If you want to become rich from nothing, the first law is this: stop worshiping money, start mastering power. Because power creates money, but money does not create power. Every great fortune in history started with one person who decided to bend the world to his will. Not with cash, not with luck, but with control. The poor man thinks about what he can afford. The rich man thinks about what he can control. And that single difference shapes destiny. Machiavelli would tell you that to rise from nothing, you must first conquer your inner kingdom. The mind that complains about circumstances will never create wealth. You must rewire your psychology to see opportunity where others see obstacles. When people see danger, you must see leverage. When they panic, you must plan. When they rest, you must act. The second law: learn to see through the illusions of society. Every system you live in, education, jobs, media, is designed to keep you obedient, predictable, and safe. But safety is the greatest lie of poverty. It keeps you poor because it keeps you small. Machiavelli taught princes to control the masses through fear and reward, but he also warned the individual: never become one of the controlled. Look around. Most people are trained to chase comfort instead of power. They exchange time for money, sell their energy for crumbs, and call it stability. Machiavelli would tell you, stability is death disguised as security. The rich do not seek stability. They build systems that make others chase stability for them. That is why the third law is simple but brutal: become valuable, then become irreplaceable. Your value is not measured by effort, but by leverage. If your income depends only on your time, you are still a peasant no matter how much you earn. Machiavelli would tell you that true power comes from creating dependence, from making others need what only you can provide. He would whisper, control the supply and you control the price. Control the attention and you control the market. Control the emotion and you control the people. To rise from nothing, you must understand that money follows emotion, not logic. People don't buy because of facts. They buy because of feelings. They invest in confidence, not certainty. That is why Machiavelli said, men are driven by two forces, fear and desire. Every fortune, every empire, every powerful brand is built upon mastering these two forces. When you learn how to make people desire what you offer and fear missing out on it, you begin to print money. When you can manipulate attention, you can bend markets. This is not about lying. It's about understanding the psychological engine that runs the world. But here's the trap most people fall into. They chase money before they have built power. They try to get rich by doing what the rich do without thinking like the rich think. They look for tactics instead of principles, shortcuts instead of strategies, and so they fail again and again. Machiavelli would call them the sheep who wish to rule the wolves. To escape this fate, the fourth law: build your mind like a weapon. Money is a game of information. Whoever understands human behavior wins. Study psychology, persuasion, strategy, and systems. Because every rich man is, in secret, a strategist. He may speak of luck or talent, but behind his success is a pattern. a way of seeing and predicting moves that others cannot see. The poor react, the rich anticipate. When you anticipate, you can turn disadvantage into advantage. You can use your current situation, your lack of resources, as fuel. Being broke is your weapon because it makes you dangerous. It makes you unpredictable. It makes you hungry in a way that the comfortable will never understand. Machiavelli would say, never waste the desperation of poverty. Turn it into strategy. If you have nothing, you have nothing to lose, and that makes you capable of anything. Use this power. Take risks others avoid. Move when they hesitate, because every empire begins with one dangerous decision, a moment when someone refuses to stay small. The fifth law, build your image before your empire. In a world of perception, how people see you determines how they treat you. You can be talented, intelligent, and capable, but if you appear weak, the world will crush you. Machiavelli warned that appearance is more powerful than truth. The masses believe what they see, not what exists. To rise from nothing, you must project strength before you have it, confidence before results, authority before recognition. This is not hypocrisy, it is strategy. Perception shapes reality. The man who appears powerful becomes powerful because people begin to treat him as such. That is why you must control your image with precision. Never show weakness in public. Never reveal uncertainty to those who could use it against you. Be calm when others panic. Be silent when others beg, and people will assume you know something they don't. And that assumption alone will open doors. The poor show emotion, the powerful control it. And this control is magnetic. It attracts opportunity, respect, and money. Machiavelli's sixth law, master alliances. No one becomes rich alone. But the mistake most people make is trying to partner from weakness. They seek help before they have value and end up used by those stronger than them. Machiavelli would advise, form alliances not out of need, but out of power. The moment you create something valuable, a skill, a system, an idea, others will want access to it. That is when you negotiate from strength. The poor ask for opportunities, the rich create them. So build something undeniable, something that others must come to you for. Do not beg to enter the castle. Build your own, even if it's small. Eventually, the nobles will come knocking. When you think like this, your energy changes. You stop seeking approval, you stop competing, you begin to dominate silently. This shift is internal, and once it happens, money becomes a consequence, not a pursuit. The seventh law, learn the art of invisibility. The greatest mistake ambitious people make is announcing their plans. The moment you reveal your ambition, you awaken jealousy, resistance, and sabotage. Machiavelli wrote, "The intelligent ruler hides his intentions. When you build in silence, you create mystery, and mystery multiplies your power. Let people underestimate you. Let them think you are ordinary, because when you strike, it will be too late for them to respond." Poverty often teaches you to seek validation, to prove yourself, to be seen, to be acknowledged. But the rich do the opposite. They act quietly, make moves secretly, and reveal only success. Your goal is not to impress, but to possess. Not to be admired, but to be unstoppable. And the eighth law, study how money moves, not how people talk about it. The poor spend their time discussing prices, salaries, and luck. The rich study systems, cash flow, leverage, ownership, and influence. Machiavelli would tell you, money is not earned, it is attracted. It flows toward power, certainty, and dominance. It leaves confusion, fear, and hesitation. That means you must build yourself into a magnet for wealth. Speak, act, and think like someone money trusts. How does money trust? Through certainty. The world rewards people who know what they want and move toward it without hesitation. Uncertainty is repulsive to wealth. Every hesitation you show makes opportunity retreat. So walk like you already own what you seek. Make decisions like a ruler, not a servant. Even when you're broke, live with the mindset of command, because your energy is your first currency. And the universe always pays those who move with conviction. If you want to be rich, you must train your emotions like a soldier. Detach from instant pleasure. Detach from ego battles. Detach from people who drain your time. Machiavelli said, He who cannot control himself will be ruled by others. That includes your habits, your desires, and your distractions. The ninth law, turn every loss into leverage. Poverty makes you emotional, wealth makes you strategic. When something fails, don't cry, calculate. Don't seek pity, seek patterns. The poor see loss as proof that life is unfair. The rich see loss as data. Every mistake, every rejection, every humiliation is a blueprint to future domination, if you analyze it without emotion. Machiavelli knew that men who could not learn from pain were doomed to repeat it. That is why most people stay poor. They feel too much, too soon. To rise from nothing, you must become emotionally untouchable. Calm when you lose, silent when insulted, focused when broke. Your power lies in your ability to act logically while everyone else reacts emotionally. The 10th law, weaponize time. The poor waste it. The rich use it as leverage. Every second of your day should either build power or protect it. Every hour you trade for pleasure is an hour stolen from your empire. Machiavelli said a prince must always be calculating, not paranoid but aware. Your time is your army. Deploy it with discipline. Invest it in skills that multiply your value, not in distractions that numb your potential. When you spend your time building systems instead of working for wages, you begin to buy your freedom. Because wealth is not about money, it is about control over your time. The 11th law, learn how to manipulate demand. In every market, the richest are not the best. They are the best positioned. The illusion of scarcity is one of the oldest and most powerful tools in human psychology. Make people believe they can lose access to you, and they will chase you. That is how brands, influencers, and empires rise. They make themselves rare. They make people wait. They turn presence into privilege. Machiavelli would admire this, because he understood that scarcity breeds power. If you give your value too easily, you cheapen it. If you make yourself too available, you become invisible. Learn to withdraw strategically. Let people feel your absence. It creates demand. The 12th law, separate emotion from opportunity. Most men fail because they mix business with feelings. They hesitate to charge what they're worth. They fear rejection. They seek to please rather than to dominate. Machiavelli would tell you, kindness is beautiful, but in the world of power it must be controlled. Be polite, but not soft. Generous, but not naive. Compassionate, but not predictable. Your goal is not to impress, it's to influence. Influence requires respect, and respect is born from strength. Machiavelli believed that morality was a luxury for the powerful, not a tool for the weak. When you are building from nothing, you must sometimes bend rules to survive. You must be cunning where others are honest, strategic where others are emotional. This doesn't mean you must be cruel. It means you must be aware. The world does not reward purity, it rewards intelligence. And when you master this, something changes inside you. You stop chasing wealth, you start generating it. You no longer ask, how do I get rich? But how do I create systems that make others rich through me? That is the moment you cross from poverty to power. But there is one more truth Machiavelli would whisper. The one most people never hear because they quit too early. The path from nothing to wealth is not a straight line. It's chaos. You will face betrayal, loneliness, and doubt. You will lose friends, comfort, and illusions. But that is the purification of power. Before the world gives you wealth, it tests your will, and only those who endure that test become rulers of their own fate. Machiavelli would remind you, power rewards those who are patient enough to outlast the noise. Most people fail not because they lack potential, but because they surrender to fatigue. They want fast results in a slow game. They want applause before victory, and so they sell their future for comfort. The 13th law, never seek comfort in the process of rising. Comfort is the drug of mediocrity. It kills the hunger that makes men great. You will have to suffer more than the average man, but your suffering will be your advantage. Pain focuses the mind. When you embrace it, it burns away distraction and ego. Machiavelli would say, the prince must learn to suffer strategically. That means using pain as fuel, not as an excuse. When life denies you what you want, do not complain. Calculate. When the world ignores you, do not cry. Build. When others doubt you, do not argue. Win in silence. Every empire was built on delayed gratification. The poor seek pleasure today. The rich sacrifice today for control tomorrow. That is the difference between slavery and sovereignty. The poor man's pleasure is instant. The rich man's pleasure is the long game. The 14th law, study the behavior of power, because once you understand how power operates, you will never look at money the same way. Money is not printed, it is commanded. It obeys those who can create systems, stories, and structures that control others' emotions. Look at every billionaire. They have one thing in common: they control a story. Elon Musk sells the story of the future. Jeff Bezos sold the story of convenience. Steve Jobs sold the story of elegance and rebellion. Machiavelli would call this the narrative of dominion. He would tell you, whoever shapes belief shapes the market. If you can control the collective belief of people, what they think is valuable, what they fear losing, what they dream of becoming, you can turn thin air into fortune. So learn storytelling, learn branding, learn how to wrap logic in emotion, because money flows not to the most skilled, but to the most believed. And the 15th law, make yourself the source. Do not depend on jobs, favors, or approval. Dependence is death. The man who depends on others for his wealth will never sleep peacefully. You must become the source of value, the one people rely on, not the one who relies on others. This is why you must create something that multiplies even when you are not present. A product, a brand, a system, something that continues to generate wealth while you strategize your next move. Machiavelli would say, build your fortune as a fortress. It must protect you even when you are gone. The 16th law, learn to weaponize silence. Every time you speak, you reveal your mind. The poor talk too much, trying to prove they know something. The powerful stay silent, gathering information. Machiavelli taught that silence is a tool of rulers. When you say little, people project greatness onto you. Speak only when it increases your influence. The rest of the time, observe. Because observation is currency. It gives you the information others overlook. The man who listens more than he talks always wins the negotiation. The 17th law, master emotional distance. To build wealth, you must stop reacting to the world and start designing it. People will provoke you, test you, and challenge you. They will insult your ambition, laugh at your failures, and mock your dreams. Machiavelli would whisper, let them talk. The wolf does not answer to sheep. Every time you react emotionally, you give away your power. Every time you stay calm, you reclaim it. Emotional distance allows you to make ruthless decisions without guilt, to cut ties, to pivot, to abandon what no longer serves you. Most men are too sentimental to become rich. They stay loyal to habits, people, and ideas that destroy them. Machiavelli would call this weak mercy. Mercy for others before mastery of self. If you want to be rich, you must reverse that order. Master yourself first, then choose who deserves your mercy. The 18th law, use leverage as your multiplier. The poor use effort. The rich use leverage. 1 hour of leverage equals years of labor. Machiavelli would tell you that a prince never fights fair. He uses whatever gives him an advantage. Leverage can be technology, attention, influence, or people. It's the ability to make one decision that creates endless results. The poor think they must do everything themselves. The rich build systems so that everything is done for them. To build from nothing, you must use what others ignore. Your phone, your mind, your time, your ideas. These are your weapons, but they only become powerful when used strategically. Leverage your pain into purpose, your time into skill, your skill into value, your value into power. That is the Machiavellian transformation, from victim to strategist, from dreamer to ruler. The 19th law, move with unpredictability. When you become predictable, you become vulnerable. Machiavelli said that a ruler must always keep his enemies and his allies uncertain. Because unpredictability is a shield. It makes others cautious, hesitant, and slow to strike. Apply this to wealth. Do not reveal your next move. Do not announce your progress. Surprise creates power. Keep people guessing whether you're winning or struggling, and they will always treat you with caution. Predictability breeds contempt. Mystery breeds respect. The 20th law: understand that wealth is warfare. Every dollar you earn is taken from someone else's pocket. Every market is a battlefield of attention, manipulation, and influence. The weak believe in fairness. The powerful understand conflict. To become rich from nothing, you must accept the nature of the game. People will try to exploit you, deceive you, and discourage you. But Machiavelli would remind you, the wolf never apologizes for hunting. Your goal is not to play fair, your goal is to play effectively. That means you must think 3 steps ahead, anticipate betrayal, and always keep your motives hidden. Smile in public, calculate in private. Do not seek to destroy your enemies too quickly. Sometimes it is wiser to keep them close, to learn from their moves, to use them as stepping stones. Power requires patience. The 21st law: make yourself an institution. The difference between a man and a dynasty is legacy. When you depend on your own effort, you are mortal. When you build systems that continue beyond you, you become eternal. Think like a builder of empires. Do not chase one-time wins, create repeating machines. If you sell, build systems to sell automatically. If you teach, create ways to teach millions at once. If you influence, multiply that influence through content, automation, or ownership. Machiavelli would say, a true ruler is one whose absence increases his influence. That is what you must become. Untouchable, self-sustaining, omnipresent. The 22nd law: study the psychology of perception. Wealth is not about what is real, it is about what people believe is real. You can be powerful, but if people perceive you as weak, you will be treated as weak. You can be broke, but if people perceive you as rising, they will follow you. That is why appearance, confidence, and composure are priceless. You must look like you belong in rooms you haven't entered yet. Speak as if you have already conquered the mountain you are still climbing. Because the world pays those who look certain. Machiavelli knew that power begins in the mind of others. You do not have to prove your strength. You only need to project it. The 23rd law: manipulate scarcity. Create demand by controlling access. Limit your availability. Make people earn your attention. Human psychology worships what it cannot easily have. When you appear everywhere, you become background noise. When you disappear strategically, you become a legend. Machiavelli's princes knew how to disappear to create fear and respect. You must learn the same. Scarcity increases desire, and desire is the mother of wealth. The 24th law: train your ambition daily. The rich are not born ambitious. They train their hunger like an athlete trains his body. Every day you must remind yourself of the vision. Speak it, see it, write it, breathe it. The world will try to make you forget. Poverty will whisper that you are dreaming too big. Machiavelli would tell you, ambition must be guarded like a flame in the wind. Shield it from small minds, from lazy company, from comfort. Surround yourself with challenge, not validation, because validation weakens the warrior. The 25th law: know when to strike. Patience is power, but timing is empire. Many men ruin their fortunes by acting too early or too late. Machiavelli said, fortune is like a woman. She favors the bold, but punishes the reckless. To become rich, you must sense momentum. The moment when action multiplies results. That is when you move without hesitation. The rest of the time you watch, prepare, and position. The poor chase every opportunity. The rich wait for the perfect one. And the 26th law: eliminate guilt around money. Poverty often programs you to believe that wealth is greed, that money corrupts, that desiring more makes you evil. Machiavelli would laugh at this illusion. He would remind you, money is power, and power in the hands of the intelligent creates civilization. Without money, you cannot protect, build, or influence. The poor moralize wealth to justify their weakness. The powerful use wealth to shape the world. So stop feeling guilty for wanting more. It is not greed, it is evolution. The seed does not apologize for becoming a tree. The 27th law: protect your energy like a king protects his throne. Energy is the source of all wealth. The more you waste it on gossip, doubt, and distraction, the weaker you become. Guard your focus as if your life depends on it, because it does. Machiavelli believed that the greatest rulers controlled not nations, but themselves. The man who cannot say no will always be ruled by those who can. The 28th law: build your circle with precision. The people around you determine the speed of your ascent. The poor surround themselves with comforters. The rich surround themselves with competitors. Do not seek friends who make you feel safe. Seek allies who make you grow. Machiavelli said a ruler must be both feared and loved. But if he cannot be both, it is safer to be feared. Apply this to your circle. Be respected first, understood later. The 29th law: master delayed perception. Let people underestimate you while you accumulate power. Show small victories while preparing massive ones. The poor rush to prove, the powerful wait to shock, because silence builds suspense, and suspense builds power. The 30th and final law: transform wealth into purpose. Once you rise, once you conquer, once the money begins to flow, do not become the very thing you once despised: soft, complacent, dependent on comfort. Machiavelli would warn you, the man who forgets struggle invites weakness. Use your wealth not to escape reality, but to shape it. Build systems that free others. Teach strategies that awaken ambition. Use your influence to create power beyond your own life, because that is how you become untouchable, not just rich, but remembered. The world forgets men who chase money, but it remembers men who master it. You must decide which one you will be. If you have listened this far, you already have something most never develop: the hunger to rise. So feed it, protect it, train it. Because the moment you choose power over fear, the game of wealth begins to serve you. Money is not the reward. It's the proof that you played the game correctly. Machiavelli would look at you now and say, fortune belongs to those who create their own weather. Create yours. Now, if you believe this message was meant for you, if you felt something move inside you, then take a second to subscribe and comment, "I will rise from nothing" below. Let the world know you've declared war on mediocrity, and remember, the ones who act will rule the ones who wait.